Calgary Flames held their 43rd annual Charity Golf Classic Tuesday. It's been a tough time for the organization after the tragic passing of Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew. Flames captain Michael Backlund talk about Johnny's impact on the city of Calgary.
You know, I know a lot of people have said when Johnny left, but to just forget about all that and remember how big it was for the city, how great he was on and off the ice. It's been great to see how much support and love he's gotten.
I'm just proud of the response. Obviously the way things ended with Johnny here, people could have been bitter or, had their reasons to not come and rally and support. And the city showed up in waves. And, I wasn't in town yet, but watching it from afar, it was pretty beautiful to witness, just the amount of uplifting, that they were doing for the Gaudreau family and for Meredith and their family. And, it's just, it's one of those things where, you put your ego away and you realize that life is much more important than sports. And, I was just really proud to be part of the city.
Well said by Blake Coleman. Here is our Calgary Flames Bureau Chief, Salim Valji, joining me now. And Salim, great to see you. Jonathan Huberdeau also spoke at the golf tournament, and he is about to enter the second year of that 8-year, $84 million deal that he signed with the team. So much talk about Huberdeau. Apparently he says, and he said to you, he had a great offseason. He loved the training. I think the big question, though, is for Huberdeau, what's his role and what role is he looking to play with this team as we head into the next season?
Yeah, it's a coincidence, hey, Jay, because I had the best summer of training of my life, so we're the same. I think with Huberdeau, like the entire organization, Jay, I think there's a lack of expectation this season, right? There's no big free agents that are expecting contracts, and we're not going to have to ask those questions. Not really anyone expects the Calgary Flames to contend for the Stanley Cup. I think Jonathan Huberdeau is really going to benefit from that lack of expectation because now, you know what? The pressure's off. No one expects him to be that Florida Panther that he was for such a long time. I think 70 to 80 points is a really good season from Jonathan Huberdeau while he continues to evolve his two-way game. And we all know he's a really good leader. Guys in that locker room, Jay, they love Jonathan Huberdeau. They love how positive he's been, despite it being a really tough stretch here in Calgary. So I think he's got the leadership down. He talked about how he wants to preach that the funness element. There are going to be growing pains here in Calgary. Jonathan Huberdeau wants to be a positive light. And I think he's actually going to have a nice rebound of a season because there's not many expectations. The organization is prioritizing youth development. I'm not necessarily sure that Jonathan Huberdeau's point totals matter a whole lot this season. And as a result, Jay, I think that he really will play well because he's not going to put that expectation on himself, and he'll be free. He'll be free to play hockey, and I think as a result, he'll have a really decent season. I think he'll top 70 points, and he'll look a lot closer to the Jonathan Huberdeau of old because there's no longer that burden of expectation here in Calgary on the team and on himself.
And then the Flames also made it official Tuesday, Salim. They are bringing in Tyson Barrie, the defenseman, on a PTO into training camp. Do you see a fit with the team for Tyson Barrie?
I do, Jay, and I think this is a really interesting invite, even signing Jared Tenorti, because it's a window into their thinking, right, Jay? They're not going to tank and bottom out the way that San Jose did and the way that Chicago did. I think Craig Conroy is keenly aware of a culture of losing that can quickly creep in. So if you look at the past couple of seasons, Jay, one of their weaknesses has been that they don't really have a true power play quarterback. Rasmus Anderson might be the closest thing. He's a really good defenseman, Jay, but he's not a power play quarterback. And they, of course, dealt Noah Hanif in a way who maybe was a little bit closer to a power play quarterback. So, you look at Mackenzie Weegar, who will likely be that guy on that top unit. Well, there's an opening for Tyson Barrie to come in. And if you recall, Jay, Tyson Barrie not that long ago was one of the better point-producing defensemen in the National Hockey League. By all accounts, he's a really, really, similar to Huberdeau, a really positive force in a locker room. I think he could be a really good voice to have in a locker room. And so I think this is twofold, Jay. It's a window into their thinking with, you know what, we're not going to try and lose as much as possible. And secondly, it's a big roster hole that they've tried to fill over the past couple of years and haven't. And not only are they filling it, Jay, with Tyson Barrie, but they're bringing in a potentially really positive voice in that locker room during a season which there probably are going to be a lot of growing pains.
Yeah, so let's talk about those growing pains. And you alluded to it. You said they're not necessarily going to tank, but they lost a lot more in the offseason than they brought in, and they lost Jake Markstrom. They lost Andrew Mangiapane. This is a team that finished 5th in the Pacific last season. Overall, what are the expectations, Salim, for this group as we head into this season?
There are no expectations. We all talked about it at the golf tournament. It really is. It's they're free of that. They're free of the burden, Jay. And as a result, I think they'll play a little more loose as a group. There's not going to be that tension. There's not going to be people like me asking players if they're going to resign or stay. And I think the win total in this J is almost irrelevant. If you look at what we're going to be talking about a few months from now, and if it's successful or not, well, did Dustin Wolf assert himself as a quality NHL goalie? Did Connor Zary take the next step? Did he avoid the sophomore slump? Did they re-sign Jacob Pelletier? And in kind of a make-or-break season, did Pelletier establish himself as a full-time NHLer? Did Matthew Coronado find consistency at this level? Did one of their young defensemen like an Ilya Solovyov or a Jan Kuznetsov, did one of those players take a step and become a regular NHLer? I don't think we're going to be talking a few months from now, Jay, about how many wins the Calgary Flames had or what playoff seeding they have or don't have or the stretch run. I think it'll be individual player focused. It'll be, did these young players really take a step? And how well did the veterans insulate them? Guys like Tyson Barrie, but also they've got some other quality human beings there, right, Jay? Mackenzie Weegar, Blake Coleman, Nazem Kadri, Michael Backlund. How well did those players insulate the young players? And just how big of strides did those young players take? All of a sudden, Jay, the Flames have one of the better prospect pools in the league. And I think it's about the development of that prospect pool for this season a lot more than it is about how many wins they're going to have.
Well said. The Flames, as Salim alluded to, also announced the signing of Jared Tenorti, the defenseman, to a two-way deal worth $800,000, trying to shore up that blue line even a little bit more. What a guy, Salim Valji, dressed well at home in his new condo. You were great, buddy. Thanks for this, and we'll continue to chat with you throughout the season.
Looking forward to it, buddy. Talk to you soon.